the church historically has been one of the movers in culture when things have not been going the way God intended.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it seems like we're at a precipice where now we are being offered the opportunity as the American church. I don't want to I never want to say like undo the wrongs we've done, whatever. Like that's Jesus' job alone.
Right.
But
And the grace he offers us.
to actually see the issue that you're pointing at.
Right.
And to think through creatively, how does it look for a body of genuine Christ following adults to shepherd parents, to shepherd youth, to help bridge this gap, knowing obviously we're not going to change the whole cycle of the entire thing, but in our neighbors, in our friends and our families, we're connected to a church/school environment. What do we do to help? Not in a savior complex way, but just you can't just look in and this is, I feel like, been the historic past also is, it's getting bad over there, do something. And it's like, what are you going to do? I don't know. I'm not equipped. That's your job. And it's like,
we pay you to do that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, you're the pastor. That's your job. And it's so anyway.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's good. And yes, you do get a lot of the I do get the well, it's your job as a pastor. I don't maybe my job as a pastor is to live my life with God openly so that other people know how to live their life with God. Yeah. That's a whole other conversation. But I think honestly, part of the issue with students and parents is it comes back to this thing is we have programatized everything. So there's not hey, go do this thing. It takes, let's just talk about it. Let's imagine a community, a small church of 100 people, right? So it takes the adults from age 18 to 100 being we understand that the world outside of our little church, just imagine the little country church, is not doesn't, all they care about is extracting what they can from our youth. They're just a product to be sold. And so what we need to do here is build relationships so that when they come into our doors, when they come into our ministry or whatever program you have, I'm saying abandoned programs, that they can show up there and not be expected to produce, not be expected to I don't know. As a teacher, I know this is hard because this is literally your job,
I still agree with everything you're saying, and I might get into a teacher rant in a second.
Yeah, as a youth pastor, I get all the time. I get, well, why don't you just start a leadership program? Why don't you do this for your students? I'm because they don't need more things to do in their life. What they need is a place to come and not be the brand, not be the thing that the world or their parents or the church tells them to be. They can be they could be the lowest common denominator of themselves, which a lot of people are that's bad. Well, no, that's good because they never get to be that. And so now I can have a relationship with the real person, not the person you see on social media, not the person you see at school, not the person you see at home, but the real person. And I can speak truth into that life and have a relationship with that life, not all these other people that, Jimmy has created for the world to see. Right. And I think that if you had a group of adults that really cared about each other and were building relationships with each other, and then also building relationships with the youths, that would be monumental shifting of those family lives. And if every church was trying to do that, it would shift the way that culture is. Now, here's the deal: not everybody goes to church, right? So then it has to bleed outside of the house we're in right now. It has to bleed outside of you loving that neighbor there and building real relationships with them. Not just so you can be I got another one in for heaven or whatever the heck that means. You need to know them and love them. And I'm really bad at this in my own neighborhood. So I'm preaching to myself a little bit here. But I think that it comes down to true relationships that are not there to extract something out of the other, right? True love.
Transactional.
Right.
Exactly. Everything is
love
transactional.
Love is the preferring of the other above yourself, right? And that does not mean that I show up to youth group saying like, if I don't get Jimmy, there's no Jimmy in my youth group, so poor Jimmy's getting picked out. If I don't get Jimmy to confess to, you know, his biggest sin this week, I failed. Well, no, maybe Jimmy just needs a place where Jimmy can like eat some snacks, hear that he's loved by God, no matter how much he's failed this past week, and then go home and feel that he's like settled all the demons inside for just like an hour and a half. He's gonna realize that like that is the power of following Christ, is that he can live in that space fully open and fully loved, no matter how many times he's messed up. That's going to be way more transformational than teaching this kid to like stand on a street corner and preach.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. As a teacher, that has been my biggest struggle. And I'm realizing, and I've realized myself, one of my biggest struggles is feeling like when I'm performing.
Yeah.
Like when I have to perform for people.
Right.
Like that, it just destroys me. Like
Yeah.
I get all out of whack. I can't think straight. I'm just like, you know,
Yeah,
whenever
I get it.
could even be someone that I'm like, it's, you know, like we have to do observations to just grow on our teaching. Great. That's
Yeah.
excellent. I should be held to a high standard. Man, does it wig me out.
You're like,
Yeah, because I'm like, oh, I have to like do all these things.
mouth
and, like,
words don't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, nah. And so, yeah, man, I'm with you. I feel like that is where we are falling, even in church culture, is we're losing out on the fact that like the entirety of Scripture is relational.
Yeah.
Like that is one of the core themes of the whole thing.
Right.
And we think, and I feel like this again, you know, I keep saying American. It's more just to like, it's not associate with everybody, but
Right, yeah.
it's the water we're swimming in. So
Yeah,
just
exactly.
To be
well,
clear.
I mean, you can even just say Western. Or
Yeah,
Christianity.
Western. We'll say Western Christianity.
Yeah.
That programs produce salvation. Like that
Right.
mindset, I feel like, is unbelievably unhealthy. And
Yeah.
ironically stifling to what the Scripture says produces community, produces relationship, produces those conversations about Percy Jackson and the Bible Project and Star Wars and all this stuff.
Right,
that,
yeah.
Like you weren't like in, you know, 8 in the morning, here's my to-do list, get Sean to talk deep about, you know, like it just happened.
Yeah.
But I think even as I'm saying that, the goodness of our God, that the same Spirit that is working in your son to help him see those messages is the same Spirit working in you when you go, oh, frick, I don't know how to say this.
Yeah.
He shows up for both of you.
Exactly.
And you're both like
And
building that connection.
it's that Spirit, like, you know, it's that like, it's that beautiful thing of the Trinity, right? Like the ever giving, loving Godhead, the 3 in 1, always giving and loving to each other. But that also happens inside of us, right? We have the Spirit inside of us. And so when the Spirit, you know, in my son connects with me and in the Spirit, like the Holy Spirit, not like, you know, some like, you know, mystical spirit, like it's just like us having a conversation in a very similar way of this like ever giving, ever loving thing. And I'm in a whole thing about that right now.
No, I love it.
Yeah. But I think that like, from day one, from relationship, from like, you know, from like chapter 1 of the Bible, it's all been about God wanting to have not only relationship deeper with his creation, but also within the Godhead. And it's just like, if we miss that on chapter 1 and we just turn the Bible into a, like, this is how things got made book. Yeah, we missed it.
We're missing a lot.
We're missing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. All right. I know you, I promised you, I think like 45 minutes. And
Oh yeah, we're way over.
Yeah,
That's
we're way
fine.
over.
I got whatever. Yeah.
So
what else?
so here's my last question for you then. So
Yeah.
I love this idea of relationship building. I love this idea of using media that is like quote unquote secular to deepen relationship about, you know, with each other, with God, the world, ourselves. Walk me through what you think would be an action step that a parent could take, you know, in like, what would your movie nights format, so, you know, not to program.
Let's program this relationship.
Let's program.
Could you
these
tell me how to
families.
do this?
Yeah, but I wonder, and I think this is the balance, right? Is
Right.
like,
Exactly. And you have to have a balance.
because we don't want, and I think this is because even, you know, struggling with anxiety and having my own thing, you know, resonating with Sean.
Yeah.
Sometimes the thing that can be the biggest hurdle for me is I don't know how to take the first step, knowing that I know how to like what to do, but I just like don't know this first thing. And
Right.
once that's clarified for me, I'm like, oh yeah, cool, we're done.
Yeah.
Like, let's go. And so I think for a lot of people, I'm sure that that's the healthiness of
Sure.
like program structure order.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's good. But we don't want to idolize program structure and order,
No.
right?
Right.
So what would your suggestion be of like, not to program a movie night for your family, but just like, what would be the makings of like a fun environment
Yeah.
to like even bring in other families? But like, hey, we're watching the original Star Wars trilogy. We're just gonna throw it on and, you know, come hang out. We'll have pizza, you know, and we're gonna talk about it after. Like, do you think that's like a good enough thing or
Yeah.
like a pitch?
But I mean, I think like, all right, depending on the age of your kid,
Yeah.
right? You know, if you're dealing with a teenager, I think you need to be really upfront with them. Don't be like trying to like slyly like sneak in like we're gonna like you know like we're gonna sneak a Jesus conversation
Yeah.
in between, you know, Luke realizing that has a twin or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's not gonna work out. I think it's gonna be like upfront, like you know, Jimmy. Like we're gonna watch, you know, Empire Strikes Back. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, we're gonna have friends over. It's gonna be fun. But I am gonna ask you at the end, just like, how'd you feel about that? Mm-hmm. You've never seen it before, and I want to know. I'm just like curious about how it makes you feel. Mm-hmm. That's how I do it.
Yeah.
And just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's gonna take time. Mm-hmm. If it's the first time you've ever done this, if you never ask your kid how they feel about a movie, you can't expect to win the first time. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to watch the other movies. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have to keep asking the question because you have to build that base of relationship for them to start to trust you. Mm-hmm. Because kids don't trust their parents.
Mm-hmm. And I think to add into that, that is not scriptural. Like that's like a, how do I?
Are you saying it's not like,
Here's a tangential phrase.
Yeah, go for it.
That I think clarifies.
Yeah.
I used to get so angry being a high school kid
I know what you're saying.
and having people be like, "Oh, this is the time to like trick off and, you know, goof off and make all your mistakes and go wild and all this stuff." And I was
Right.
like, "But where's that gonna take me?" Like that was always as like a high school kid. I
Yeah.
was like, "But where's that gonna go?"
Yeah.
And
Building
I think,
habits is
yeah, exactly.
is what
And it's like,
happens.
oh, but you're young, you can just, you know, or like marriage. And marriage one is like,
Yeah.
you know, well, as long as your wife is happy, that's all. It's like, time out, you know, right? So I
Yeah.
feel like there's this assumption even too that it's like, my kid hates me. That's just, you know, that's parenting is to have my kid hate me. Like,
yeah.
whatever. And so then instead of actually putting in the work to be like, no, like, yes, there's going to be strife because there's humans, but
Right,
it's not
humans,
because you're
yeah.
a teenager and you're an adult. It's because
You're two humans.
you're two humans. And so
in the same small space.
yeah.
Yeah.
And one of you is kind of in charge of the other.
Yeah.
You know, there's a whole bunch
One
of
of you
stuff there.
provides food. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, don't forget it.
Yeah.
So what do you think that looks like then in that moment to kind of address that or to fight back against that gut feeling? Because like you said, I think it's like, it's going to take time. And
Yeah.
then also, you know, like the tension of like, well, my kid hates me and, you know, like teenagers and they're just all, it's like, yeah, that doesn't mean don't do it.
Right.
Like that
Right.
doesn't mean don't.
Right. I mean, it's
engage
really
with it.
inconvenient to mow your grass, right? But you're gonna get a ticket if you don't do it.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna send the city will send a crew, and they're gonna charge you like $500 to mow your grass. So just because it's inconvenient to do something hard doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, no, all the time relationships are hard. Mm-hmm. Because we're humans. Mm-hmm. Exactly that conversation we just had. And yeah, your kid might be in this space where they don't want to talk to, you know, Jimmy doesn't want to talk to dad because Jimmy and dad don't have a good relationship. But like, do we value Jimmy? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. We love Jimmy? Absolutely. So then while he may not be ready and he's feeling antagonistic about talking about how he felt about Empire Strikes Back, you, the adult, have to keep pursuing that child. Mm-hmm.
Which is
Just like Jesus continues to pursue us, even though we're just like Jimmy, right? Mm-hmm. And we don't really want to talk to him. Mm-hmm. That's life, man.
Yeah.
Get over it. Try hard things.
That's it. That's that's rad.
Yeah.
But, dude, this was not what I expected in
No.
the best way possible.
Did we talk about Star Wars really?
Yeah, this was in there.
Can we
said
just
space was?
Can we just like? Can I say one hot take about?
Dude, go for it.
About Star Wars.
Yeah.
Is that while popular says that Ryan Johnson's the Last Jedi was the worst.
Yeah.
I actually think that if Ryan Johnson would have actually crafted the whole arc of the last three, it would have been mind blowing.
I agree.
Because, like, I mean, I've only watched The Last Jedi maybe 4 times.
I only saw it once. And I was like, never again. Which I
Well,
need to rewatch it.
I had to like watch it more than once because I'm like, dude, he's trying to do something here, but he's doing it like alone, and nobody cares about what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
And he's trying. I mean, if, dude, like he brought Luke's really crappy life to its logical end, right? Like the boy orphaned, grew up, found out his father was the most evil person in the galaxy, then converted his father back to the good, whatever that means, and then goes on and like, and this is like outside of like the movie line, but like he goes on to build like a whole other Jedi Order that fails, like even not inside the like the original canon, like out like that, like that's just been like Luke was never good at teaching. What else is a human going to do, right? They're going to run away and hide. And it's only by this like outside force, even though I don't love Rey, like she was in some way his messiah that brought him back to like, this is what good I can do. And he finishes his life doing the good he can do. Like, dude, if that would have been the story, the sequels would have been so much better.
Yeah, I
Also,
actually very much agree with that. I think originally when I saw it, I just got hung up on a lot of the like being a storyteller and being a details person.
I mean,
there was a lot that was hard to overlook. Where I was like, wait, Leia can fly now? Like,
yeah,
what, you know,
I mean, there was for sure.
But I think at the core, I 100% agree. And I think even in the message, because I think that was when we first heard the message from Kylo to Rey that she was a nobody. Like her parents were just scavengers, which to me, similar logical conclusion.
Right.
If you carry that through and then she goes on to save the world.
Right.
Because she's this nobody.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's actually an awesome, very powerful, very biblical message.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like,
yeah.
Jesus picked a bunch of fishermen. He didn't pick the Lukes. He didn't pick the the best of the best, the Obi-Wans, whatever.
Yeah.
He picked these guys who were just on the fringes. So I think Rey could have been a really amazing representation of that idea of like, it doesn't matter who you are, you can do good and you can change the world for the better. But then to have it devolve in episode 9 into apparently the guy who got chucked down a gravity well survived somehow.
Somehow Palpatine returned. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And now we have a whole world that's being created to fix those movies. Yeah. It's made for some good TV.
Yeah.
But this is what Star Wars does, man. It puts out this idea and then it like, we got to fix that idea. It's really interesting. I don't know if you've read any of the Star Wars books. There was a whole book.
A lot of the games, but that was it.
Yeah. I've never played any of the games. I mean, I've played a few of them.
Jedi Academy, it's janky as all get out.
Yeah.
It's super old.
Yeah.
That's a fun one.
I played Knights of the Old Republic, the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good too.
Anyways, there's this book that's all about Rey's parents, right? This is spoiler alert. Are we allowed to do spoilers? Yeah. So like Rey's dad is a rejected Palpatine clone. Yep. That was unable to like accept midichlorians. And so he like got out and then met a woman and fell in love, and that's where Rey came from, and that's how Rey is a Palpatine. But you would never know that if you didn't read a 500-page book.
Right.
That's a problem.
Yes.
That's not good storytelling.
I agree.
Anyways, so I could go on a
dude,
rant for a while.
I remember watching, episode 9, like, because I saw 7, and I was like, oh yeah, we're going back old school. Like, I was juiced.
Yeah.
It was formulaic. It was very, but
we knew it's Star Wars.
It's Star Wars.
Right.
Like it's, the entire thing has been pretty simple in its nature. Then Last Jedi was kind of like, oh snap. we're going some places. Like,
Yeah, we went.
and then
yeah.
it just all the duct tape started.
As much as people hated on George Lucas, at least he was the consistent person.
Yeah.
And I think that was really the issue is like we didn't have a consistent person, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
It's
Yeah.
just like
That's what
I'm
I
going
would
to say
blame too.
whatever I want now
Yeah.
because I can.
Yeah. I like, oh dude, and it was because it was JJ who did 9, right?
Yeah, well, because JJ did 7.
He did 7,
And then he did 9. I was like, okay, as much as like I don't love JJ for a lot of his stuff, like if he would have just stayed through, at least we again have consistent story.
Yep.
It's just one consistency.
Yep. Yeah. Oh,
Okay, well, we said we weren't going to do this. We weren't going to crap on him.
nah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
whatever.
You can cut it out at the end.
Okay, last best Disney Star Wars show right now that everyone should watch if they haven't seen it.
Rebels.
Rebels.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Rebels.
Do you talk to Mary about that all the time?
We have had lots of conversations about it. And the last wilderness trip,
Oh, I'm sure she was just.
well, we downloaded it all into the iPad, and so all the
Yeah.
like the like 16 hours there, 16 hours back, my kids and her and a bunch of like other students were just in the back of the mini or the 15
Yes,
passenger
they
van
were.
watching Rebels.
Yeah, man.
Rebels is like it's that weird bridge of like Filoni like really becoming the storyteller for Star Wars, and then him getting the power to actually tell the stories that like we know he can tell. And it has my favorite character in all of Star Wars, which is
Really?
Thrawn,
Oh, I've heard about Thrawn.
Grand Admiral Thrawn, man.
Yeah. Okay,
the
so
best.
I got to watch Rebels then.
So
'cause-
watch Rebels before you watch Ahsoka,
Okay.
unless you've already seen Ahsoka.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. I will watch Rebels first.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Dude, this was fun. Thanks
was
for
fun.
sharing
Yeah.
your thoughts. And yeah, like there was just so much wisdom that I think you shared that I
Thank you.
I
I mean,
think
yeah,
it's-
dude, it's fun.
really helpful.
Yeah,
So
appreciate it.
dope. This has been Parable Arrows. This has been Nick.
See ya.
Catch you later.